Good morning. Welcome to the channel, Trading House Outdoors. Thanks for tuning in. This morning we are going to install my Christmas present, which was a Badlands ZXR 5000. I think these are good winches. These come from Harbor Freight. We all know that Harbor Freight doesn't sell the most quality items at sometimes, but there are other times where, hey, you get a bargain, you get a good product, and this is, in my opinion, this is a good product for the price. I think we gave $139. I mean, that's very reasonable for a 5,000 pound winch. We got the winch. I researched online to see what I wanted to use to mount it as far as a mounting plate. And this one right here is from KFI products. And folks, they hit it out of the park with this one. It's a one piece, made in the United States. It's powder coated. And it fits. I mean, you use factory hardware, you use the bolts that, and I'll show you, you use factory bolts that are already in place to work with your factory bumper. It puts it at a better angle than some of the other designs. It's a good product, so we're going to go through and demonstrate. First of all, let me give you a tool breakdown of what you're going to need to do this. You can use air, and you can use an impact, or you can do just a ratchet, you know, standard ratchet. You are going to need an extension. You're going to need a 12 millimeter, preferably a 12-point socket. You're going to need a 13. You're going to need a 14. You're going to need a 10, and then a Phillips screwdriver. In a couple of other applications, you might need a wrench, and I'll show you what that's used for later. So let's get to it. You've got to remove the bumper first. All right. To do so, you've got 4 bolts on each side, and it's identical. So what you'll do is you're going to remove this one first, this one, and then you got 2, if y'all can see that, right in here. Right there and right there. Same thing on the other side. I've already removed the other side, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this side. We're going to pull the bumper off, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, all the bolts are removed. So you'll have 2 long ones like this, and you'll have the one at the bottom, and you'll have the one that holds the plastic to the bumper. Now, the bumper fits kind of like in a slot, if you will, like it pushes in tight. So as you're pulling the bolts out, and if you feel like some resistance, you don't want to gall the threads. You want to just kind of shake that thing around a little bit. Make sure it's coming out, you know, once you loosen it, fairly easy. The bolt is coming out. Again, you can use an impact. I prefer not to mess up the thread, so I do it just with a ratchet. I'm going to go ahead and pull that bumper. Just give it a jerk. It'll come right out. And you can see what I'm talking about. These fit inside some sockets right here, and so it fits really well. I'm going to set that out of the way. Okay, now it's time to put on our plate. Now I'm going to bring this camera down here so you can see what we got to do here. So we've got 4 bolts, and I've already started working on this. You've got one here. You've got one here, here, and here. So 4 bolts are all the same size, 14 millimeter head. Once you remove those, I've got them all loose, so they're just finger tight. I really like that they use the factory bolts. Some of the other designs I've seen, you have to bolt plates together, and you've just got a lot of room for error, you know. This one right here is pretty straightforward. This plate is pretty straightforward on how it installs. So you remove these 4 bolts, and then your plate will set in here just like this. I'll get a better camera angle in a second. I apologize. And it will use all 4 holes that are already in place. Now, before you get too crazy and start putting all your bolts in, you go ahead and put the bottom 2 in now. and then you mount your winch. And I'll show you why here in a second. One thing I've learned from anytime you're mounting a steel bracket or anything with holes already prefabricated into it, design, you want to leave everything loose, and I mean extremely loose, until you get every bolt in place. If you start to tighten down the ones ahead of time, you won't get the other bolts in. So you just want to make sure that you just get them started, get the thread started, and get all 4 of them in. And then this bracket can go ahead and be tightened down. So we'll go ahead and do that next. Six-inch extension works good for reaching these 2 bolts. Now I'll come back and I'll snug everything up good. You have to put this plate on first. You cannot put the winch on and then put the plate on, because you wouldn't be able to reach these bolts in here very well. So next step is to put the winch on. The winch actually goes on upside down compared to how it looks in the pictures of the box. I'll show you. It goes on just like this right here. But what this does, it enables the angle to be pretty good compared to other designs out there. You can see my cable is loosened up. I'll have to work with that. You do want to go ahead and run your cable out some, and I'll show you why in a minute. Alright, let's see if we can get this bad boy in here. I'll tell you what, for a little winch, this thing is heavy. It's built well. It's a heavy little winch. So this is why you want to have a little cable out. Make sure you thread that through before you start doing any tightening, or you'll be cussing yourself. There we go. Okay. All right. Let me get the bolts for that. Okay. So what we have here is we have 4 bolts that have a 13mm head that come with the winch. You want to make sure and put your lock washer and flat washer on. Now, working by yourself, this is somewhat challenging. You want to make sure, again, get all of them started before you start tightening things up. What I do in cases like this, because you've got to get this up here, that's where that needs to be mounted. Now, you can probably get one side by yourself, but what's going to work the best is either a block of wood or a pry bar to keep that pushed up. I'm going to get a block of wood. Just a block of wood to kind of help you there will be all that's needed. Keep it in place. There we go. Now we'll start putting some bolts in this bad boy. If my head gets in the way at any time, just move it. Those are starting pretty well. Almost too well. Okay, now just go ahead and go through and tighten those down. You want to get them just kind of snug at first, get them all pulled up. Again, I always do tighten things in a cross pattern, and just the way I do everything. It just kind of evenly distributes the torque, and once you start to get one kind of snug, give it a few clicks there. All right. You don't want to go super crazy on this right here because it's probably aluminum, I'm sure. You know, this right here. So that's good. That's got that bolted in. And now we move on to the next step, which is putting the bumper back on. You can run wiring at this time, but you have plenty of room to do that after the bumper is installed. So we'll go ahead and put the bumper back on and run this back through and put our Fairlead on, do the next step. So the next step is going to be to put the Fairlead on the bumper. Save yourself some trouble. Put it on before you put the bumper back on. That way you can get to everything. Now, the Fairlead that comes with the kit, that comes with the winch, I should say, it measures from hole to hole center, it measures 6.5. The holes on your factory bumper are 6. So as you can tell, it's not going to work, you know. I mean, you guys can do what you want. You can slot holes, you know, drill other holes, whatever, but you're going to have these holes and these holes still to contend with. This thing's going to slop around. I wouldn't do it. I would do what I did. I went and purchased the right Fairlead, which is 6-inch on centers. I think it's 20 bucks. I found this on Amazon. It's Ranger. So yeah, I think that's going to be the best option for you. It's the same quality as the one it comes with. It just has the right hole spacing. So we go ahead and put that on now, and then we'll slide our bumper on. If you guys want, I will go ahead and probably put links to some of these items that I purchased to make this installation easier. I also bought a lit up toggle switch that I just think it looks cool. And so I'll put a link to that as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this put on. Now, if your wrench sets are like mine, I don't understand this. Sometimes it happens. I don't know if it's just a mismade bolt or what. They're good bolts. They have lock nuts on the back side. They have this grip, you know, to keep them from sliding around. The nut is a 14 millimeter. The bolt, a 14 will go on there. I don't know if I just got cheap wrenches, but a 9/16 fits it without. It just fits it better. You'll save a lot of grief. Just go ahead and get you a 9/16, or maybe that's just on mine. I don't know. So next thing we're going to do, we'll put this on. Make sure you put the sticker side up. It doesn't really matter. It's the same either way, but it kind of does. You don't want these aiming up when it rains and stuff. You want them down. So it'll work either way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I want to apologize. Sometimes I'm bad about just taking the camera angle out of it. When you do things by yourself like this, you're kind of at your own I mean, this is pretty straightforward stuff right here. Just put 2 bolts in and tighten them down. Okay, now we just tighten. Okay, the factory bumper, like I said, it's got 4 bolts. Actually, it's got 3 bolts on each side that hold it, and then it's got that trim bolt that holds this plastic to the bumper. So when you're starting the bolts back in, make sure and get them all started and feel the threads pull the bolt in. It's hard to explain, but you just don't want to bear into it with an impact, because you will. It'd be very easy to strip these bolts out. Sometimes I noticed I got that side done. I got them all finger tight, finger started. This side right here, the holes weren't quite lining up, so you may have to push down. Again, if you have a friend that weighs 250 pounds or something, you can kind of get him to move some stuff around, but you can do it by yourself. I've got all of them started now. I had one right here that I had to push down, but I got it started. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten all these up. Got one more here. So everything is started. It's ready to tighten down. You can use ratchet, impact, whichever you prefer. And that will have that part done. We'll go ahead and put our hook on and pin through. And we'll start wiring it up, and I'll show you how I wired it up. I also purchased a rubber stopper from KFI. A bumper stopper, if you will. I like those. I didn't know they had such a thing until I saw a friend of mine's. He had one, and it keeps it from just putting things in a tight, complete bind. This gives you a little bit of shock absorption when this tightens down up against the Fairlead. It's not steel on steel, you know, creating dents or marks in this right here. This is just kind of a little added protection. And we'll go ahead and put that on at this time. Okay, so we pretty much have the bumper. We have the bumper all mounted back up. As you can see, we got the Fairlead on. So the winch is mechanically mounted. Is that a word? Mechanically? I don't know. It's mounted. As you can see, it's not a bad angle either. I've got this installed, the bumper. So this is all done. The bumper is buttoned up. This is all in. So now it's time to wire it. Now with the Badlands winch kit, it comes with everything you need. It really does. This wire is plenty long enough. Now I've gone ahead and mounted the solenoid, and what I did, I just picked a location where the hood would close. It would be serviceable, it'd be out of the way, and I took a drill from the back side. No, actually I did it from this side, and I shot in 2 holes here, and I put in 2 632 machine screws with fender washers and nuts on the back side, and I'll show you the fender washers that I used. So here's the setup I used to fasten the solenoid to firewall, we'll call it, but the fender washer is on the inside. And I just picked these up at Home Depot. They're 1/8 by 1 fender washers. A 632 machine screw with a small nut. You can get in there and you can tighten all this down. It makes it plenty strong to do what you need to do. Also, I'll go ahead and point out this right here to answer a lot of you guys' questions that are asking. This is the factory cable that comes out. This is a 2021 Pioneer 1000. I don't know when they started doing this. I don't know if they did it in 18. I've heard some, you know, maybe so. But if you have this, this is a ground cable that you use when you're installing a winch. And that's some of the reason why I put this right here. I wanted this to reach. I mean, if I put it way over here, it's not going to reach probably. So this is the ground cable, and it will go, after you untape it, it will go right here. And then so you do not have to run that big long, it comes with plenty of cable. As you can see, this is the positive. It has a circuit breaker. I just tie wrapped it in there. It can be done cleaner, I'm sure, but I just don't really know. You know, down the road I may add a second battery. We'll see. But so for now, I just did that right there. This is installed. That's installed. We'll go ahead and start wiring this thing up. Another thing I'll point out, there are a lot of holes in here from the factory. You've got this. You've got right through here. You've got here. You got back here. I don't see any point personally in drilling any more holes to run wires, but if you do, that's fine. That's up to you, but you need to get them up. Mine are going to come up on this side. I know some of them come up on this side, but the way that bracket is mounted, the wires are on this side, and they're plenty long enough to put them on this side. So I probably am just going to come up through right in here. I'll make sure I'm away where I can still get to that if I need to, and I'll come in here and I'll do it as clean as I can for what I got. So yeah, we'll see what that looks like. That's the next steps though, is hooking up the wires. These cables here, everything is pretty much color coordinated. On your winch, you've got to get where the yellow goes, it's yellow, where the blue goes, it's blue. Same thing on the solenoid, you've got a blue paint dot on the stud, you got a yellow, so it's pretty foolproof in my opinion. But go ahead and put your, it comes with all of these little boots, and they're not installed from the factory, so you'll need to put those on. It'd save you some grief and do it now. Probably do it on both ends. Alright guys, so here's where we're at this point. We've got all the wire installed and the ground cable that comes with it. One thing I want to point out is anytime you do any electrical work like we're doing today, you want to make sure and unhook the battery and make sure it's nowhere near it. You don't want to have any ground positive to ground contact anywhere along the frame when you're doing this, shorting out stuff. So just make sure and disconnect at least one of your battery cables. I did the negative, just you know, I was working on that, so just make sure you disconnect the battery before you do anything. It's a very important step. Another thing I will point out, I learned the hard way, so I'm going to save you a little trouble. Before you put the bumper on and your winch is all mounted in here, you might want to go ahead and run those, at least put those two wires on that go to the winch. You have enough room to work to get it on there, as I did. So if you don't, it's fine, but it'll save you a little grief. It'll save you a little trouble by going ahead and running, putting your wires on and tighten these down, at least this blue one. So I just wanted to point that out. So it's pretty much done at this point. I'll go in and I will probably tie these wires with some tie wrap. I don't want them flopping around, so I'll do some tie wrapping. I don't know how hot this radiator hose gets. So I don't know. We'll see where I'm gonna. I don't know exactly where I'm gonna tie wrap them yet, but I will tie wrap those where they will not get chafed or burnt or anything like that. So we'll do that. Everything under here is about done. The only thing I need to do is hook up my switch to be able to operate this. You do have to have a keyed hot to activate the solenoid, and so I've kind of done a little bit of research, watching some YouTube videos. Some of you guys have pointed out taking this out and finding a wire underneath. It just seems like that's really tight. I don't want to mess with that. One I think I may go, the direction I may go is the 12 volt power source here. That's a keyed hot, so I'm going to try to tap into that for that one. And I don't know exactly where I'm going to mount my winch. switch, maybe right here. I don't know exactly where I'm going to mount that yet, but that's all that's left to do, and then this will be a complete install. So without any more distractions, let's get to doing that. We'll wrap this thing up. Alright guys, having a CNC at your shop is kind of handy for stuff like this, so I cut out a little template, and that's going to be my switch location is going to be right here, which I'm not super thrilled. It's close to the light, it's out of the way. I don't know. It's where it's going to go. I don't see a lot of other places here, unless I don't know if that. I mean, it could go there, I guess, right above that one. The switch is pretty big, though. I don't think it wouldn't have enough room. I think it would interfere. It would interfere there. So I've thought about making a plate. I mean, I could certainly do that and cut out, but I'm not one to buy a lot of stuff like that, like stereos and light bars. So I don't know that I'm ready to do that just yet either. I mean, obviously I know all of those warnings and stuff, but I'm just not ready to take that off. I guess as it gets some years on it, I will. So I think for now I'm going to mount it right over here. It'll be operational. It'll be obviously I'm not completely satisfied with that location. But I think that's where I'm going to put it at. I doubt I'd put any more, but I might want to move it over one way or the other, just on this flat spot. I'll probably move it over this way a little bit. Yeah. That way if I ever want to add another switch, I can do it right here. Because it's close to the lights. I think that's where it's going to go. Alright. Let me go ahead and cut the hole. We'll put the switch in. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys up under the hood. So we have about got everything completed here. I've got this wire going to a keyed ignition hot. In other words, when you turn on the ignition switch, it powers up this solenoid, and then you can use your winch. One thing I did here, where the hot on the circuit breaker comes to the battery, I just poked a hole in the back side of that insulation here, just so the battery cable would run through instead of this being, so it'll lay flat, in other words. On the inside I have mounted the switch. I'll show you that. All the connections here are done. Really the only thing left to do here is tie wrap these wires, keep those from flopping around, and I'll do that in a minute. Moving to the inside, I've taken my test light and I decided to pull my keyed switch hot, and this may not be a good idea, I don't know, we'll see how it works, off of the headlight switch. So the black wire, you've got four wires actually in this little bundle that goes to the switch. You've got high beam, low beam, the switch powered on, and then the power coming to the switch when you run into the switch when you turn on the key. So there's a black wire that you would want to tap into if you do it this way. I don't know that I recommend it yet. We'll see how it works. I don't know if this circuit will hold it. All it's doing is powering on the winch. That's it. It's not, I wouldn't think, a huge drain. The drain is coming from the actual big cable. That's just turning on the solenoid. And then this brown wire right here, I will cut here in a minute and splice into that. That is going to turn on my rocker switch when you turn the lights on, which right now the way this works with the key on, it lights up. I don't know if you can see that. It lights up when you push the switch. which is okay. I mean, that's fine, but I want to be able to see it when you turn the lights on. You know what I mean? I want the whole thing to light up. So I'm going to wire that a little differently. Forgive me for this camera. I'm trying to do two things at once here, but one thing that I wanted to add is if your winch is going reverse from what your switch says, winch in and out, those two leads can be swapped out to correct that. That way it shows what it's actually doing on your switch. Okay, we're done putting the winch in and wiring everything up. I'll give you a quick rundown of what everything looks like. Overall, I'm very pleased with everything that I purchased or that I got for Christmas. The winch, as you can see, you know, a lot of times people say that they're at a weird angle, but the plate that this comes with, I don't know if you can see in there, this puts that at no bind. A lot of you guys like the other type of Fairlead that just kind of has polished, and that's fine, but I just don't think you can beat the old roller. I mean, that's a proven design, been around for ages, so I went with that. I tie wrapped everything where it won't be in the way. That's not up against the radiator hose. There's a little clamp right here on the radiator hose that I fastened to. This is good. I have no problems with that. I came up through here. It's out of the way of the radiator cap. Plenty of length to get right to the solenoid. The solenoid is low enough. Make sure if you mount it like this that your hood will close, so you don't want to be, you know, getting it too high. That's fine, but this, yeah, I didn't want to cut my wire. I wanted to leave it the length that it came. It's got the factory ends on it. I feel like this was a good clean install on the solenoid. And this wire right here is a ground that goes to the switch. I'll show you inside. Where I mounted my switch is right here. When you turn on the power, you can operate the winch in, out, and then, okay, in, out, and then at night time when you turn that on, your light's on, powers that up, so you got light on that right there. It's a little bit of a challenge for the first time for not really knowing, you know, what to do there, but now that I have it done, I will make it easier for everyone else moving forward. Inside here you can pull this cup holder out and you can get to the wires that run to this switch. Now I'm sure that they make plug and play wiring harnesses, which is probably the best to do, but you know, working in here on a weekend where you couldn't order stuff, I guess I decided just to tap into this switch. So you've got 4 wires in this switch. You've got a blue, a white, a brown, and a black. The black is going to be your positive with the key on. You can tap into that to get your positive for your winch. The brown will be lights when you turn the lights on, and that's what lights that switch up. Now, to light this switch up, on one side you've got 4 spades, on the other side you have 3. Okay, the side with the 4 spades is where you would put your winch in and out cables. The top one will be your ground, and that does have to be grounded, and that's where my ground goes. I ran it to the solenoid on the ground lug there. And then the other side is the lights, and if you want them lit up all the time, you will jumper wire between the first and third lugs, leaving the middle one out. So you'll have the first one and the second third one jumpered to the brown wire on the lights, and that will allow you to have lights on all the time. And I'm pretty happy with it all. I think it'll work just fine. So if this will help you guys out in any way, let me know. Comment in the videos. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the video. I hope I've covered everything in this video, and if I say video too many times, well, just what I do. Thanks for watching. And I also want to thank you guys for subscribing, the ones that have, and thanks for watching these videos. I hope they help you out. I will put into the description or somewhere in the video the links to what I used as far as the Fairlead and the plate, and of course this right here. I think that's it. It's a beautiful day out, as you can tell. The lake is nice and calm. It's calling my name. I've got a few of these to get shipped out this morning that are ready to go, and I'm gonna get that done, and I'm gonna go hit the lake. Thanks for watching another episode of Trading House Outdoors. You guys have a great week.